Hey, what is up, YouTube? Doing a quick thoughts video, and I'm going to do a very quick breakdown of my Baldur's Gate 3 um, review. I'm going to do a separate video for a full, in-depth personal review of my experience playing the game, but this one's going to be a little bit faster and quicker, so it's just more to the point, so it's not a long video. Game took me about 150 hours to beat it, a little bit less than that, but about 150 hours total. And that's counting all of the save scumming and everything and redoing things. I think the file itself probably was around 110 hours. I think I can actually. I don't want to load it because the music in that screen when I get here is way louder than what's here. Let me go ahead and break down my rating of certain categories. I always categorize when I reviewed my games the gameplay, the music, characters, the story, and the performance, and the systems in the game. Systems meaning like inventory, loot, menu navigation, world interaction, things like that. You know, obviously that can vary a little bit from game to game. And there's obviously going to be overlap with gameplay. I'm going to go ahead and start with the gameplay. I'm going to rate everything out of 10. I would give the gameplay in this game a 9 out of 10. It's really good. It works. Fantastic. Reasons why I'm not going to give it a 10. I'm not even going to say anything else other than, I mean, if I'm giving a 9 out of 10, that's pretty good. But reasons why I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10 is an issue that I have with all CRPGs, is that sometimes misclicks happen and there's no undoing, or at least in this game there really isn't a way to undo a misclick action. So I've had to reload sometimes, and sometimes you make a misclick when you don't really think you're going to, so you're not quick saving all the time. And I've had to like redo maybe about 20 minutes of the game just due to an accidental misclick. So that part kind of sucks. But otherwise, turn-based combat is fantastic. Always very apparent of what's going on. Without too much spoilers, there are a couple fights where it does get a little jank in the sense of like the fights taking place in multiple areas. So when it's the enemy's turn, it'll like go to a black screen, almost like a loading screen, to go load in that area. So then that character can make their turn, and then now it's another character's turn in the other area. Black screen, almost like it's loading. Go back, and it can be a little jarring, but it's only no more than like 2 or 3 times the entire game, and in a very long game, it's fine. Those are really the only negatives I have with gameplay. Music, 10 out of 10. That's all I can say. The music is a 10 out of 10. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this short and concise. The systems in place with the game. This is going to probably be the lowest rating that I'm going to give in any department, and I'm going to give it an 8 to an 8.5. Reason being for me is the inventory system hasn't really improved from their last title, Divinity Original Sin 2. It's serviceable, it works, but it's not the greatest. There's many times where the sorting features are, for some reason, doesn't work. I mean, like, there's a great sorting feature. Sort by weight, sort by type, newest, by name. You know, I'm somebody who I always like to sort things by the type. That's generally what I do. Unless I'm getting over encumbered, then I'll switch by weight. Sometimes I click it and just nothing happens, and I have to, like, reload my file. Or, you know, like, I'll save the game, reload the game, and it's working. Works again. So, the inventory, it's a little cluttery as well. And another system that I think could really use a lot of work is the camp system when it comes to your characters. So this alone might be my biggest complaint with the game really is your party is a party of 4. You use 4 people in your party, but when you cannot look at anyone that's not in your party. You can't look at their inventory. You can't interact with their inventory or anything like that. Completely understand if you're not at camp and you're, roaming the world or whatever. But if I'm in my camp, which is a safe place, where I have my mega chest that can, store, infinite amount of things. When I go to party inventory rather than individual character inventory, I would like to be able to look at every companion that I have's inventory and be able to exchange and interchange and things like that. Also, the way it is right now, if I want to, let's say, oh, okay, I'm not using Lae'zel in my party, but I want to get an item off of Lae'zel and put it on Karlach. I have to talk to a companion, tell that companion I don't want them in my party anymore. Now talk to Lae'zel in this example, tell her I want her in my party now, and now I can look at her inventory and interact with her inventory. And it's like, it's some really tedious and annoying thing right there. Like, that really bugs me. It's bugged me the whole game, so I was really trying to keep track, and it was honestly a big reason why I didn't really swap around my characters and use different characters for different things. And I just stuck with a particular party most of the whole game. It was because it was for that specific reason. Another thing is the camp chest. You can drag it down, but you can't drag it this way. Let me drag it this way. It made things kind of okay. Anyways, like I said, probably I think an 8 out of 10, because aside from that, everything else works. Everything else is great. But moving on, using that to tie into my performance score, and I'm putting this in performance. Because Act 1 and 2 is near flawless. Let's go to Act 3. Now, Larian has been putting out patches. Patch 2 is out. I finished my game before Patch 2 was released, but Patch 1 had come out. And for my game, it didn't address any of the issues that I had. Act 3... If I was rating Act 1 and 2 only, this game would be like a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. I'd probably have to give it a 9.5 because of the inventory things and what I mentioned earlier. Act 3, I'd be giving that like a 7, maybe even a 6.5. Purely because of how bad and how buggy Act 3 is compared to the rest of the game up to that point. There's a lot of problems when it comes to the performance of the game. You're going to be getting dialogue from companions as if you did different choices. You're going to get dialogue from companions for things that haven't occurred yet in the game. You're going to get companions who are saying things, or other NPCs saying things that have nothing to do, or that's you've heard multiple times over. And it's related to Act 1 or 2. It makes no sense. What? I had lots of NPC, I shouldn't say lots, I had 2 that I can think of. NPCs who got stuck in a location, and they were stuck on a wall or stuck halfway underground. It was interesting, and they weren't where they were supposed to be. The game never actually had issues in terms of frame rate or anything like that. It was more of a lot of things that weren't working right. And this is pretty much all in Act 3, which is what's unfortunate. And something that Larian has already stated they're working on, they've already worked on it with Karlach, and I know they're working on it with the other companions, is the end of the game ends kind of abruptly. Like any game, right? You beat the big bad, the game's over, and instead of there being And this is an RPG with a lot of characters and stuff. I want some kind of closure with all my characters. The game doesn't really have any. It's like, all right, that's the end. Yep, bye, the end. And just, what? It's a little more than that, but that's kind of what it was. And, yeah. Anyways, don't want to get too much into that. I'm giving performance, like, I'm going to probably give it like a 7 out of 10. Because it's really only Act 3 where this is really a problem. Characters. 10 out of 10. All fantastic. Props to the voice actors and all the mocap they've all done. 10 out of 10. Don't want to dive into this. Video's going on too long. Story. 10 out of 10. Again, same thing. Don't really want to dive into this. And just going to mention, with all the issues with Act 3, none of that had anything to do with the characters or the story. So Act 3 characters and story, still 10 out of 10. It's just fantastic. All in all, Baldur's Gate 3, I'm giving a roundup. Right now, or as of when I played it, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. In the majority of what's kind of keeping it from like a 9.5 or a 10 is purely... It's mostly due to the performance and the issues in Act 3. And then there's some quality of life things that would help the game, such as like the inventory and interacting with your companions' inventory that aren't in your current party. Anyways, thanks guys for watching YouTube. Please hit like and subscribe if you like, whatnot, and also leave some comments so I can try to get better at doing my game reviews. All right, peace.